Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining the Association on American Indian Affairs for this very special streaming event, Spiritual Healing from the Sand Creek Massacre of 1864. My name is Shannon O'Loughlin, and I'm a citizen of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma and the executive director and attorney for the Association on American Indian Affairs. The association is the oldest nonprofit serving Indian country. We've been around since 1922, and we're so grateful to be introducing a documentary to you all today to watch, as well as a wonderful panel. And to introduce the panel and our event for today, I'd like to turn it over to my friend Sheldon Spotted Elk. Sheldon.
Hey, how's it going, Shannon? Thank you so much. This is such a great opportunity. This is
to my friend Sheldon Spotted Elk.
Get some back.
Having a little feedback.
All right, with a little feedback. So this is the 156th anniversary of the Sand Creek Massacre. We're going to learn a little bit about it. I'm on today with a bunch of artists. Artists change the world, as you guys know, and so we're gonna get some film here. We have about a 30-minute film, and we have the creator and director of that here with us right now, a documentary. And then I have some great Cheyenne artists here as well, not only historians, authors, but also artists of living. So I'm so happy to be here and be part of this. So thank you very much. We'll do some quick, brief introductions. If you have any comments while the film is playing, please put a comment either in Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, and we'll try to get to them, and just so we can make sure we can respond to those. There will be a little section of us responding to the film, but all of us normally, if this was non-COVID year, we would be down either in Sand Creek or we'd be at the steps of the Capitol here in Colorado. I'm calling in from Denver, Colorado. We'd be at the Capitol steps singing and having a victory dance and being with relatives. I'm impressed the way that Sand Creek, which is a massacre, and you're going to learn a lot about that. But it's been reframed for a lot of us. It is about healing. It is about truth and reconciliation. It is about being the people. And that's what we call ourselves, Tista, the people. So it is really reclaiming this day and reclaiming this event. So without any further ado, I'll have our panelists. Like I said, that'll be after the movie. But I want you to meet them before we do the film. And then we'll turn it to Elleni, and she could introduce her film. So Tiana, if you'd introduce yourself. And this is actually my relative. I don't want to embarrass her too bad, but I knew her when she was in diapers, but now she's like super smart and super genius. So Tiana, please.
Good morning. My name is Tiana Limpy. I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Northern Cheyenne Tribe. I consult with Sand Creek site to National Park Service site, along with our tribal government, our tribal council, and the Sand Creek Descendant Committee. And I also work with the youth committee when they do the annual run every year. We usually attend consultation meetings, and we work closely with the park staff in, I guess, paying homage to our people with the interpretive panels, and the story being told, and the visitor center that recently opened. There's still going to be a grand opening for that. And so I'm just going along learning too as well. I've only been consulting with the Park Service and being a part of this closely for about 5 years now. So, and I'm also still learning a lot of my family history too. So it's a really emotional time around this time of year for us, because there's a lot of other events that impact our people emotionally, physically, and spiritually around this time. So I just want to say hello, and thanks for allowing me to be a part of this with all of you great people.
Pevawana, good morning. Haden, tell us who you are, what you're doing.
Just getting the word out. Haden, from here.
Right. Good to have you on.
Yeah, glad to be here. Kind of missed the run this year.
How many times have you done the run, Haden?
This year would be my third year, I think.
That's awesome. And Haden, we're going to hear a lot more from Haden because he's part of the People's Camp. He's a he's a society man. He's an awesome dude. He does a lot of good things for the community. I've learned a lot from him, actually. So can't wait to hear from you from the panel and your response to this film. But Cinnamon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cinnamon Kills First, formerly Cinnamon Spear. I'm Northern Cheyenne, but I'm currently occupying and making home in Chinook territory, what you might know as Portland, Oregon. I am a writer, an artist, and a speaker, and I am so excited to be here as a part of this panel because I am really excited to see Elleni's film. I have written about the Sand Creek Massacre. I'm a direct descendant. Ellen and Arthur Brady were my relatives who escaped Sand Creek, and so it's on my mom's side, my matrilineal side. So I write in honor of Sand Creek, in honor of my relatives at Sand Creek, and I just really believe it's my purpose on this earth to help tell our stories, which both empower Indigenous people and then also educate non-Indigenous people about the truth of this country's founding. So that's what I do here as an artist and a writer and a low-key filmmaker, but super excited to see what we have in store today.
Thank you so much. And Elleni, please introduce your film, and it's about 30 minutes, right? So give us a little intro to the film, tell us what we're gonna see, and then we're gonna come back and we'll do a response to it. So stay with us, but really enjoy this. This is gonna be a great film, and I'll let Elleni take it away. So please tell us about it.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be here today especially on the anniversary and with all of you. It's an honor to show this film and to have worked on it. I'm from Denver. I grew up in Denver, but I never learned about the Sand Creek Massacre in school. So when I found out about it as an adult, it was kind of it's such a shock to learn and to realize like there was this huge gap in what I knew about the place where I lived. So I started to learn about it and educate myself. And so I've been very lucky, and I've met a lot of wonderful people over the years. People have worked for decades and decades on making the site a National Historic Site and all these various projects and just keeping the memory of Sand Creek alive. And it's amazing. And the people I've met are like amazing people. And some of them have passed in the 6 years that I've been working on this project. And it's very, very sad. But one of the themes that people talk about a lot that came up over and over again when I was talking to people was the importance of passing the information, passing the memory on, and passing it to younger generations and to people who are not Cheyenne and Arapaho. So I feel particularly like it's really very touching to be here today, especially with a group of young people, young adults who are working very hard to keep the memory alive. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And you've done 2 film festivals with this so far?
Yes, it was at the Tall Grass Festival in Wichita, Kansas, and just last weekend, Pocahontas Reframed, which is in Virginia. It's all virtual, so it was all just online, but doesn't really matter where the film festival is at this point, but yeah, it's been shown, so it's great to share it with people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, take it away. Wow. Thank you, Elleni. That's so beautiful. I've seen that now a couple of times, and it strikes me every time. But we have a panel here, and there was some great comments in the chat box. So from our screening platforms on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. So it'd be really good to kind of get initial reactions from the panel. I even like the live up to date, like even now, if you went down to the Capitol steps right now, the big Calvary guy that was up there has been pulled down. And I don't know if you guys know this, they are replacing that. And so those that are logged in, it's going to be replaced with a Sand Creek memorial. So that's going to be really kind of interesting to see how that all rolls out in the next little bit. So they just announced that, I think, 2 weeks ago or last week. So really exciting. Some of your reactions to the film. We'll start with Cinnamon. What's some of your thoughts? And I know you've written a beautiful article that was reposted on the Association of American Indian Affairs Facebook page. So if you haven't read that, everybody should look at Cinnamon's writing. She's a talented individual with that. But Cinnamon, some of your thoughts.
Yeah, so right away, I just want to name, I guess, that I'm taking deep breaths, as you're talking, Sheldon, and I think it's important for us to acknowledge the way our bodies react to these things. I don't think true healing can ever possibly happen unless we achieve that healing in our bodies. It's not something we achieve in our mind. We pray for it spiritually, but we also need to feel it in our nervous system. And so right now, I just have to name that my nervous system is activated. Knowing this is the day of, in history. But also those deep breaths are a way for me to recenter and to call my spirit back to my center so that we can have this discussion. And I think it's important that those things are named. The tears that I've seen my relatives cry in the film, the so many tears that I know were cried off camera to get to this point where we're able to tell this story. My own tears that I know I've shed in writing and reflecting on the many years that I've been able to run and participate in the Sand Creek Massacre spiritual healing run. But in reaction to the film right away, Elleni, I just want to applaud you for completing the project. Like you said, it took a number of years. For me, I've been away from home for quite a while. So just seeing and hearing the voices of my relatives brought comfort and warmth, even though we're talking about such a hard thing. But I really enjoyed the pacing of this film. It doesn't go too fast. It really makes you sit in the moment and sit with the words and the truth that's being shared on film. And the other thing I really appreciate, kind of like Sheldon had mentioned, is that, being that this was produced 2020, that you have the contemporary scenes along with the historical scenes. So seeing, the Capitol building graffiti the way it was in light of the Black Lives Matter movement, knowing that those symbols are representative of white supremacy and that they do hang over, they're studded across this country everywhere, what that means for Indigenous people. I think there's just that stunning image of the American flag and the white flag of truce, which we're all conditioned to know are supposed to be, these signs of peace. But knowing that they were inherently violated regardless helps to raise the awareness of just the atrocity of it all. And so when you bring that into a contemporary sense, even for school children, Cheyenne school children who are asked to pledge allegiance to that flag, when we carry that history in our body has a reaction to that imagery. And so that's part of the healing and the somatic awareness that we need to have when we talk about these things. I have a ton of things I could say, but I think I'm going to cap right there and let it circle around and then get more into the discussion. But yeah, thank you, Elleni, for your production and every hand and voice that went into creating this.
Yeah. Thank you, Cinnamon. That's a beautiful reflection. And that's so important. And I did look at the chat box, and there was a lot of people that I know had, we're human beings, and this is a human reaction to feel this way. And I appreciate you calling that out. So I think sometimes we try to divorce ourselves from those emotions, and to nobody's benefit, to nobody's healing or end, does that help. So thank you, Cinnamon. That's beautiful to put it that way. Haden, some of your reflections and thoughts on this. I know you've participated now 3 times. So you've lived it, not only watched this film, but you've lived it. But what's some of your reflections on the film and some of the things that jumped out to you?
I just all the feelings came back of the run and how we all felt, and basically when I was watching that, that's all I could think about was the run, what we could be doing right now. Usually it's a long drive, and then all we're doing is running, and then we go back to hotels, sleep, start same thing over next day. Same thing in Fort Robinson. Just run, pray. Yeah, just that's all I could think about. Just watching the whole thing and kind of took me back to last year's.
So as somebody that participated in this, why is this important? If nobody, this is the first time they're learning about Sand Creek and they're thinking, wow, that was 156 years ago. Why is it important for us to memorialize it and reflect on it every year? Why do you do that?
It's important to all that because, well, when I started, I didn't know I had a grandfather that was killed in Sand Creek. But when I first started my first year, uh, I was like really drawn to it, and I had like a strong feeling for it. And it wasn't until my second year when I was looking at a list of names of who was all the old ancestors that were in Sand Creek, and my last name was on there, and so I just had a really. Ever since then, I've been just having a strong feeling for that, and glad that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Haden. Tiana, what's some of your thoughts, reflections on what you've seen? And I know before we got on this call, we were talking a little bit about how we center white supremacy and how white supremacy is centered in society now, and it kind of is called out in the film. But what's some of your general thoughts about it? And then if you could speak to a little bit to that, I know you're a tribal historic preservation officer, maybe one of the youngest in the country, I imagine. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I'm one of the young cohorts in my group. Still learning a lot, but I'm glad to be able to be in this position to learn these things and continue to share. And so that's what this film was about: is sharing this event and sharing a little bit of Cheyenne history about what happened to our people and the plight of our people, but also the continued resistance and resilience to basically the government's campaign to exterminate the Cheyenne people, because we all know this was part of that plight to I guess not even a plight, like just a campaign to just wipe us out entirely because of how strong and resistant our tribe was to manifest destiny, to westward expansion. And so this film it highlights all of those points leading up to Sand Creek, even after. We know there's a lot that happened after Sand Creek too, and it was highlighted with the Washita Massacre, which where Black Kettle was killed. And so it's very emotional. I've been a part of seeing Elleni grow with this film and really listen to our elders and be a part of that and just witness all of that from the beginning of when she started her film, when it really started coming into its existence as it is now. And it I like the film, and there's plenty more years where this is going to be shared, and plenty more runs to film, and just like our ancestors said, we're never going to forget them. So.
Mm-hmm.
Elleni, any thoughts or comments? And I know you put this together, and as a non-Cheyenne person, a non-native person putting this together, what's some of and Tiana talked about some of the growth that she's witnessed in you. What's some of the things you've felt in putting this film together?
Yeah, I mean, it was really like the word that I keep coming back to is I felt honored. And, it was an honor for me when people would open up and share these stories that are so painful. And, it's like, it's kind of, I mean, you can't go back, once you kind of learn these things or experience these things, and it just like, it changes the meaning of everything around you, so it changes the meaning of a place like Denver. To me, having grown up here, now it's all very different, and I can see kind of this past of genocide and this Sand Creek Massacre, and how it's kind of reflected everywhere, from the names of the mountain, Mount Evans here in Colorado, to, kind of knowing how all the institutions in Colorado are linked to that time period. So as someone who's not Cheyenne, not Arapaho, not Native, it changed me. It really changed the way that I see things. And, this summer with the Black Lives Matter protests and things that are happening in our country, it just became more evident than ever that this is not over, that these things, like this past is still very present and still very much part of our culture and our society. And it's not acknowledged.
Cinnamon, before we jumped on, you made a comment about the essay. And like I said, if you haven't read the essay, the AAIA on their Facebook posted Cinnamon's essay. It's worth reading multiple times, actually. But you were mentioning before we got on that you would rewrite that and you would add some more things to that essay. Tell us a little bit about what you would rewrite and why you'd want to revisit that essay.
Absolutely. So thanks for those who have read it and also those maybe who are interested in giving it a look. To contextualize that essay, I wrote it at a time when I lived in Washington, D.C., serving the Indian Health Service headquarters office. That was a time I could not participate in the Sand Creek Massacre spiritual healing run. And I remember I lived in Rockville, Maryland. I woke up that morning knowing, we have this anniversary trauma, right? Like every time the seasons start to change, Cheyenne bodies feel it. We know these slaughters happen successively in winter months, which was not accidental. The Army was very intentional in targeting our camps, when our camps were vulnerable and it was cold. So for me, when I woke up that morning, that it was the first thing I thought was like, today's the day. And as a writer, I don't really have a choice in being a writer. I've tried to do other things and it just didn't work out that way. My spirit called me back to doing this hard work of writing. And so I remember waking up that day in 2014, knowing my relatives were participating in the run and I couldn't be home. And I went to a coffee shop and I sat there for hours and cried and wrote in honor of my relatives at Sand Creek. And it was very raw. It was just what was coming out. And I knew the history needed to be shared on a grander scale. Because usually when I am able to participate in the spiritual healing runs, what I do is kind of like a real-time update on socials, either Snapchat or Instagram, Facebook, doing images of where the runners are, where the group is, catching quotes of our, historical preservation keepers, people who are sharing oral histories. And I see myself as just as a tool to share this knowledge. Like if I'm in a place and a space to hear it, I know it's not mine to keep. It's my job then to share it. So I just felt that pull that morning. And the thing that essay lacks, which I was hoping, and I was very glad to see this film included, is Evans's role in the massacre. I think I put a lot of attention on Chivington and his, leading the 5 battalions and the 700 soldiers into this camp. But when you look at colonized hierarchies are created all over this country, right? And so there's people on the bottom who carry out actions, but there's so many decision makers up the hierarchy who need to also be named and held responsible. And so previous to the screening, when we were chatting, I had said I didn't know if the film included it, but just that Evans needs to be named. And for me, it's not only Evans who had the position of power, but it's that he launched this, 100-day enlistment for people to literally join the military service for 100 days to kill Cheyennes anywhere and everywhere found. Like that was their goal. So you look at the structure, Evans is at the top, but who were the people who joined for 100 days? And so to me, when we talk about healing, us Cheyennes, we gather, we tell these stories, we see our strength, our resilience. We're there, we say prayers, we sing, we cry, and we run. And so that running is a somatic release. We have all this rage built up. Our historical trauma is on the survivor side. And every time we're there and we run and we bless that earth with our feet, that brings healing to us. Okay, historical trauma happens on both sides. On the white side, who are the people who enlisted for 100 days? The school teachers, the bankers, the common folk of Denver, of that area. And what did they do after the 100-day enlistment? They went back home. And so we can point fingers at Chivington and Evans, but I'm also super curious in identifying all the people who joined for 100 days and who carried our body parts back home, all the families who hid our bones in their closets. That is white supremacy, and that's unnamed. So we have gone and done the work of telling this story, like I said, meeting every year, doing things like this in lieu of being together to celebrate our resilience and our strength and our survivorness, our survivorhood. But when we talk about healing, it has to be on both sides. So what are all the white people doing? What are Evan's descendants doing? What are the descendants of all those people who joined for 100 days to kill us? What are they doing to heal? I mean, and to me, for this entire country to heal, it takes both sides to face that. We have survivor syndrome, there's perpetrator syndrome. And when you don't stop the perpetration, which is colonization, that is ongoing. When you don't stop the perpetration, you cannot allow for a moment of healing to happen, right? So there's just a lot of work, I think, that needs to be done on the non-native side of history, on the perpetrator side of history, that needs to first stop the perpetration. Like we saw on, Fox News with the mega million, whatever the march was, kill, we're coming for Blacks and Indians first. Like we said, this white supremacy is still alive and well today. It needs to be named, and healing needs to be done on the white side, because we're doing our healing on the native side. I'll stop there, but I just wanted to, name not only Evans, but everybody who participated and the work that needs to be done there.
Wow, sister, dropping it down like that. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Wow. There's so much to that. And I do want to follow up with a real quick question, and I want to get responses from Tiana and Haden. But just what's the current, as far as the current climate, you kind of mentioned a few events right now, and I know our political climate is very divisive and fear-based. How's that relevant now, and especially with the Black Lives Matter movement? You see the graffiti that was on the Capitol steps. Why is it especially relevant now? And you did kind of set that up for this question. I do want to follow up on that. What's some of your thoughts on that? Of allyship with the Black Lives movement and how that connects to Indigenous movement. And I did see somebody make a comment about land back, reparations. Why is that relevant?
Are you asking me, Sheldon?
Yeah, Cinnamon, please follow up with you.
Why is it relevant? Oh, wait. Sorry. Okay. I needed to recenter because I was decompressing from my last little bit. I thought I was done. But okay, just rephrase the question. I'll go again.
Just about the current climate. And I know we all witnessed, the whole United States, the whole world witnessed a man get murdered in the streets with George Floyd. And it did cause a somatic response from everybody. Right. Everybody went to the streets. And I went down to the Capitol steps here in Denver. It's not too far from where I live. Went down there and saw allyship. I saw Black Lives Matter movement. I think sometimes in Indigenous communities, we don't necessarily look at that as a natural allyship. But what's some of your thoughts on that? You talked about colonization, centering whiteness, and especially this political environment. I'm throwing a lot at you right there.
No, I'll catch it. Throw it at me. Like I said, I could speak for, this is what I do. I could speak for hours in any direction. But as far as the allyship, I think, NDN Collective, who's operating right now out of Rapid City, South Dakota, I think they're really the leaders. They're actually who I look to and who I follow as far as building that solidarity. Black lives, the Black liberation and Indigenous solidarity do go hand in hand. I think this country is conditioned to have alarms in their body that do go off for Black Lives Matter, in terms of there's enough education. Well, that's a lie. There's not enough education about what happens to Black people in America, but there is more education about the atrocities that happen to African American people in this country, so that the collective American society has alarms in their body that go off when injustice is seen publicly, these public lynchings that more than just George Floyd that we've all noticed and witnessed rather. And so that causes the collective to respond. And so what I think is lacking in this country is a true history of America's founding. There's not enough education about the atrocities that happen to Indigenous people, so that these injustices like the pipelines coming into our territories, there's not a collective alarm to our injustices. Like the rest of America is not responding to, oh no, let's protect Indigenous people in this moment, because our whole history of atrocities isn't there to bake into the body an alarm that this is not okay, right? So that allyship, I mean, our movements are parallel to one another, and when we join, our messages amplify, and we're all going towards the same goal of deconstructing white supremacy. So I think I say the revolution is happening now, and there's space for everybody to be a part of it, whether you're a person of color or not. But like, now's the time to get with it, because I'm always told by my white friends, like, you know, baby steps, like, look, my daughter's teacher included this lesson, like, baby steps. I'm like, 400, 500 years, like, we can't be okay with baby steps. Like, we need leaps and bounds. Like, I'm hungry and thirsty for leaps and bounds. And so I think conversation pieces like this film will help that momentum build. But now is really the time for that, no matter what side you're on. It just takes the hard work of stepping forward and putting, literally your neck out on the line to make a mistake, to not know what you're doing, but to be respectful and centered and moving in the right direction. And there's enough people who will guide you along the way, as long as you just make a commitment and show up.
Thank you. Wow, that's such a powerful statement. And just I like that you're talking about our collective liberation. And so it does also require white healing. It does require some work on that side, as far as the perpetrators and their healing and the syndromes that they carry, connected to that. Haden, actually, I want to get your response on this, and I learned something from you, Haden, and I don't know if your ears have been burning all year long, but I bring you up so many times. I learned something from you when we did a similar panel back in January. And I remember you shared your experience of running that the spiritual healing run. And I remember somebody in the audience said, "Hey, what do you kids want to be when you grow up?" And I remember you recentered this, and another system in our society, capitalism, that kind of puts a number on each of us. You know, we're all worth this much, you know. But I remember your response to that was not like, I want to be a doctor, lawyer, or fireman or anything like that. You said, I want to be a good relative. I remember hearing that. It completely reframed everything that I want to be about and how I want to go about my life. But why is that important now, being a good relative? And what's your reflection on that when it comes to being an ally and being able to teach and being able to lead? What's some of your thoughts on that, Haden?
I don't know what I was thinking, but like, now that I think about it, like, especially with what's all going on, just trying to teach younger ones about our ways, and just teach them of the stories, especially like the ones we just heard, and because there's a lot of stories that are told orally, and some of them ain't written down, so gotta listen to them, try and take as much in as you can, and that's when I get told a story, I try and listen, take in as much as I can, and then I try to remember it. And because with all this going on, we're losing a lot fast, and I don't really want to see that all go away, because it makes me feel good when people ask me like my ethnicity and or what tribe I'm from and all that, and it always makes me feel good to tell them what it is. And yeah.
I know you spent some time this summer, well, since COVID has started, and I hope it's okay for me to ask you about the People's Camp and some of the work that you've done there. And this kind of really a testament to this idea that you are a frontlines Indian. You're a grassroots Indian. You know, tell us a little bit about the People's Camp and what that was about, and some of the work that was going on there on the ground up in Lame Deer, Montana.
Basically, when we started that, to try and eliminate the COVID from getting here, and it worked for a while. But then we started getting a bunch of backlash and all that, but we just kept going. Didn't really phase us. So since March, and we still have most of our people, but basically we do it for the people, but mainly it's for like our elders, and because we have a lot of elders here in Lame Deer, so that have a lot of stories, and some of them pretty important, and like I love my grandma, so I always think about all the other elders too, and I don't really want anything bad happening to them, and uh, basically we just try and if there's trouble, we'll go try and de-escalate that, because BIA and all that, they take forever to respond, and us guys it's almost instantly. And if they're out past curfew, we give them a rides because it's starting to get cold too. They don't have a place to stay. We have a shelter, stay warm, showers. Um, like right now, we're doing kits. They have like our natural teas and bear root and cedar that we give out if they need it, or like whoever catches COVID. And then now we're just stockpiling for whoever needs to stay warm and all that. So we're going out, getting wood, all that stuff. Basically trying to help out any way we can.
Thank you. And so a lot of it's about curfew enforcement and making sure the community has what it needs. And sounds like you're doing a lot with supplies, with personal protective equipment and food and shelter.
Yeah, we try to help out as much as we can. So
That's awesome. I really like that. I think I learn so much from you every time I talk to you, Haden, just because you center humanity all the time. And I don't know, I aspire to be like you. So I appreciate you uphold what it means to be a good Cheyenne, but also a good Cheyenne man. So I'm learning so much from you. There is a question in here for you, Tiana. It's also from your relative, but also connected. I know you've done a lot of work down at the Massacre site, and you've done a lot of. You're on that committee, and so there is a question right here about some of the work around repatriation, and why is that important? There was a lawsuit I know connected to the Treaty of the Little Arkansas, and so maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. If you want to, but just tell us a little bit about why reparations would be on the table, why that's important, and some of your other thoughts on that. So,
well, with the payments, I do know that the Sand Creek Descendant Committee has been working on this continuously. It's going to take an effort of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and the CNA tribes to go to Congress and request repatriations for this. So it's going to have to be a big, cohesive undertaking that all the tribes are going to have to work with together to request for reparations. So that has been in the works. There just hasn't really been time where all three tribes could dedicate a substantial amount of time to this. And I know that a lot of our descendants, and especially a lot of the elders, have always remembered our people talking about, getting reparations for what happened and who the descendants are. And, there's still that. We're still finding descendants to this day, a lot of them that, never talked about their family history or never talked about Sand Creek and their family until now. And so there's still being descendants added to these lists, the original survivor list, the list that they did. So as far as the was it repatriation of the reparations, and then the repatriation. So the repatriation, there have been non-tribal members, non-natives who have given items back that their families have had within the last 2-3 years. And so that's another part of the healing aspect that we're going through, is we're getting back these items. They're returning, they're finding their way back to our people. and they're housed, in a safe place. We have items from the Sand Creek Massacre that were saved. Also, human remains. We have some of our ancestors, they're making their way back and they're getting reburied at Sand Creek. And so a lot of these things are still happening. Healing is still going on throughout the entire year. It's just amazing to be able to witness that and to share it. And a lot of the times I wish I can just share it with everyone, but for our Cheyenne people, this is something that's really sacred and holy to us, and something that we really don't talk about widely when we get like human remains back or we get collections back, because it belongs within our people. But I just do want to say that that's been going on, and items are returning, and even working in my office with other battle sites, other events that went on, we're getting items back home. And we are waiting for COVID to be over to share a couple of the items that we got back from major events that have happened.
Awesome.
It's amazing. And so
Awesome.
like I'm saying, Sand Creek is one of the last major events that happened to our people at the end of the year. But there's so many events that happened, almost every month. We have something about the Cheyennes basically fighting to stay alive. And just in November alone, we have the Dull Knife Battle, November 25th. We have the Washita Massacre, November 27th. We have Sand Creek, November 29th. And so that's why this is a really emotional time for us, especially, for like me and my staff. We participate in a lot of these events, and we document this too, just like everybody else does. And wow, it's heavy. Like just thinking about, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, these 3 events, like all of our spirits as Cheyenne people, I know we're all feeling something right now. And just talking about Sand Creek just makes it even more emotional. So
thank you, Tiana, for your work. And I can't thank you enough. Actually, thank you from all the tribal members. You're doing a lot for us. I know one of the very first, I once read that one of the very first repatriations under NAGPRA was actually for us, for Northern Cheyenne. So it was a reburial that happened out in Busby, is what I understand. So I know your office has been on the ground doing this work for so long, and for our community. So thank you for that work. You made a comment before we got on about just coming back to like what Cinnamon was talking about, and what we see also in the film at the very end about how whiteness has been centered and how there's some healing that needs to occur from that. But I know you've done some work down at the Massacre site and even with the local community and in Colorado. But what's that been like for you to get this history out and educating others? I know that's a big part of your job. So what's that been like for you, and why is that important?
It's been really eye-opening. It's a lot of weight on my shoulders, I would say. Just working with like Joe and David and the others who passed on, we have to continue to strive to carry on that work and make it known about our history in Colorado, because that is our homeland. That's another place we loved. We always wanted to be. And our reservation, it was vast in Colorado, our first reservation that we were supposed to have. And just seeing like Colorado recognize the Cheyenne, even though we're not there no more, our history is still strong there. And it's taken a fight to get non-natives to recognize it and to learn it and to appreciate it. And so all the work that everyone has been doing for 20, 30 years, it's all culminating into a great thing happening at the Capitol with the monument finally being put there. I just know just as little as four years ago when I first started the committee, they were against it. Like one of their major reasons for it not being there was for snow removal. And, we were like, that's absurd. Like, you can work around that and see. So that's just some of the excuses at the time that were happening. But now just to see, with the Black Lives Matter movement, that really put all the history of every state like on a pedestal, like what really happened here. And then people that found out about what really happened there, they're just like, oh my gosh, this is what happened to the Cheyenne people. They need to be recognized. You need to recognize this. And so just that, and then just having like our committee and some of our council just hear that was, it was just I guess breathtaking, because now we're able to just take a deep sigh of breath and say, wow, Colorado's actually, their citizens they toppled the statue, so there's a reason for it. And now the government and all of the, like you say, all the big dogs, I guess, the elites are recognizing that. Even like Mount Emmons, like when I was talking about before we went on here, one of the highest peaks, that's going to be, I guess there's a movement to change it, to recognize the Cheyenne people and how we choose, and that's in the works too. And I think there's another one for our woman. She was the wife of a fur trader, not a fur trader, George Bent's Fort, and so that's a big thing. And so we're working through this throughout the year, and it's a lot of work. And I don't know. I don't think there'll ever be enough words or enough work that I could do to really pay homage to our ancestors the way that I think they can be. But we certainly do our best. So.
I know, and before we got on, you made a comment about that, and I no disrespect for, I think some of the white allies that were involved with Sand Creek, and I think sometimes also in popular cinema, it's always the Kevin Costner figure in the movie, the white guy that they tell the story through his eyes, and it's always a he, it's always a white guy, like gets adopted to the tribe. And I know you've studied a lot about history, and you know a lot about these the people that were there, maybe the forgotten history that we don't necessarily know in popular culture, or even the casual observer, maybe even me. But who are some people that we need to look up and we need to know their story? You mentioned Owl Woman before. Who are some other people that we need to know? I feel like the guy in what's the show? Who's your favorite Cheyenne? Who's your favorite Cheyenne?
True.
Who's some people that we need to look up?
Like in the state of Colorado, because every state's different.
well, I'm talking about just like in history, as far as like you mentioned Owl Woman in her role, and she was married to George Bent. She was married to a white guy, and but she was a great advocate. I look at a Medicine Woman, the wife of Black Kettle. The more I learn about her, the more I'm inspired by her, and like some of the work that both her and Black Kettle, I think they're both the most humanitarian people that have ever lived. There should be more things named about them. Like we should know their names and be inspired by them. But who are some other people that we need to learn about?
There's actually quite a few. One of the big historical figures that she doesn't receive as much, I guess, limelight is Iron Teeth Woman. I feel like she should be spoken about a lot more. There's another great woman warrior. Her name was Island Woman. She was basically a woman warrior, just like Buffalo Calf Road Woman. Let's see, there's her husband, Black Coyote. Also, I would say Porcupine. Strong Left Hand. They're chiefs, and they help lead the people back up to Montana. Some of the, like Spotted Elk, he's one of the founding tribal government chiefs. There's just so many. I just can't even think about all of them right now, but there's quite a few. God, I can't even think right now.
I wrote a bunch of those down.
You named a lot. Thank you.
Like Pikes Peak, braided hair. That's he fasted up there in all of those peaks in Colorado. We've had ceremonies on almost all of those peaks, and so they're all significant to us. White Antelope, I know his story is told a lot, but I feel like he could be talked about a lot more. A lot of Arapaho chiefs, they don't get that much I guess recognition. There's quite a few. I mean, one day I'm just gonna make a list of all the people that I want. Like, it's amazing. Wild Hog, he's also another one, another strong warrior that we had, especially he was part of the 13 guys who were accused of doing atrocious things and almost hanged in Kansas, but they won their case. I mean, that's just significant too. So there's just, I can't even, Roman nose, little bighorn, all the warriors there. It's just a lot.
I feel like there could be a whole Marvel series written about all these. These are all
There should be.
superheroes.
There should be.
You can, you know.
Maybe Cinnamon can write it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The superheroes of the Northern Cheyenne, or of the Cheyenne people, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, and coming back to you, Elleni, I know the title of this film. I'm reminded of it now. The title of it, "Only the Earth and Mountains." Tell us a little bit about that title and where you got it from. And I know Tiana just told us a little bit about White Antelope, but tell us a little bit about that title and where you got it from.
Yeah, it's so White Antelope was the Arapaho chief at Sand Creek, and that's the song that he sang as the troops were coming and storming this village, as the cavalry rode in to slaughter people. And so the story is he stood in front of his teepee and sang this song as he was dying. And it's the song that you hear in the beginning of the film that Otto Braided Hair is singing with the runners, and again at the end of the film. So, and I think the idea is that, you know, nothing lives forever, only the earth and the mountains. So I think that's a nice way to think about history and, you know, what we remember and how, even like how we think about monuments and how we memorialize things in our culture. So I really like that idea of something permanent, something that stays, something that also evolves and changes. So yeah, that just really spoke to me as, you know, it's an evocative song. It's an evocative idea.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, and even to this day, I know every Cheyenne funeral I've ever gone to, every journey that I've ever gone to, like that's one of the songs that's always sang, and it's always, I don't know, I hear that, and there's so much power and medicine in that song, actually. And so, beautiful title. Cinnamon, I coming back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've been on for a little while now, but I know you're an author. You are getting people in this comment in the chat box of saying you should write more books, but you've already written books, I know. Tell us a little bit about those books that you've written and why that's important. And you do a lot of work. I know you do a lot of public speaking. You do a lot of educating non-Indians. You've operated in that space a lot. Why do you do that? Why that's important?
It's taxing.
Yes, I imagine. What are the next steps? What are the next steps that you see for yourself, and then also for this movement that we're a part of right now?
Sure. I'll just again contextualize that by saying I grew up on the reservation, left the reservation at 18, and attended Dartmouth College. When I got to Dartmouth College, that space, being Ivy League, was you know, we'd hear it from professors, administrators all the time. That was the best of the best. We were getting the best education ever, you know, and we were just being conditioned in this elitist system. But fairly quickly and all throughout my time at Dartmouth, I found it just entirely challenging and taxing that I was in spaces with students who had college prep education, you know, and I came from a rural public school, highly underfunded. Their best level education still had nothing rooted about the truth of this country. There was no education about Indigenous people. So it was just being in that space where I was surrounded by peers who were just so blatantly ignorant, that didn't know anything about Cheyenne people, nonetheless, you know, all Indigenous people. So it was really in that place where I thought then I was going into the medical field, but just being like slammed again and again and again with this like high level ignorance at this place where we're supposed to be leading the country's, you know, elitist education system and higher education. And it was so lacking. So in that space, I'm like, wait, let me tell you a story about the Cheyenne people. Let me educate you just in this touch point right now. So if you go on to be a legislator or a CEO of a company, you know, or whatever position of power these elitist people on, especially, you know, the legacy students go on to inherit these ridiculous positions of power. if I could just touch them, and then later, 5 years down the road, if they're like, wait, you know, Cinnamon taught me something about Cheyennes, and then leverage that power to help Indigenous people in whatever way they can. That's really where where my spirit's calling was the loudest. So I've been writing because that's the gift that I was given, I guess. And I have lots of writings that are incomplete, but I just had an opportunity to publish 2 children's books with Scholastic. So one is a fiction story called Go Dance. And it's a story about a boy named Spencer who comes to dance at the Lame Deer, like the Chiefs Powwow in Lame Deer, Montana for the first time. So I remember being in like English class in, freshman year in high school, and my English teacher walking by, collecting Sherman Alexi's books back from us because we couldn't read the whole book because there was curse words in it. And so she just to herself was like, I wish you would write a book, or a public school. We can't read this whole book. I wish there would be a book written that didn't have curse words in it. And at that time, like, which I now know is my spirit, I was like, I'll write you a book that doesn't have curse words in it. Like my spirit just was like, I will do this thing. It took a long time for me to circle back around to really truly knowing and following my spirit that this is what I'm supposed to do. But I have that Sand Creek essay, which I again want to kind of revamp at 6 years old. I think I could redo that. And then I have a draft novel that's kind of on the back burner right now. These children's books have taken precedent. Those were published by Scholastic. And I also didn't really enjoy that process of working with Scholastic because, again, every email exchange was educating a microaggression, or what Ibram Kendi calls racial abuse, having to like deal. I won't go there, but it inspired me to hire Indigenous artists to do my next 2 children's books. So those are in the works. So I'll just plug that. But I just am going to write and create for my entire life. So I do have a goal of being fluent in Cheyenne and Lakota and having a home on both my reservation and my partner's reservation. So I know that once I get back to the homelands and like connect to the source again, that's just going to fuel so much more creative writing and work, and document, like Tiana said, create this Marvel series of all our Cheyenne warriors. We can make it happen. So I'm just doing what I can where I'm at until the next step happens.
Thank you so much. I know you're doing a lot of good work and out there educating so many people, and you're inspiring me. So thank you, Cinnamon. I appreciate the work you're doing, my friend.
Thank you.
Haden, I want to hear from you, bud. I want to hear what do you hope for the Northern Cheyenne? I know you're on the ground right now. You're living. Are you in Busby right now, or where do you live?
I live in Muddy.
Okay. What do you want to see our community look like in 20 years? What do you want to see our community look like in 20 years, and what do we need to do to get there? So, how can we be part of your vision?
I just kind of want to see more younger people that speak Cheyenne, at least understand it and can speak some of it. I can't think of anything else right now. I got little kids running around in the background.
I think that goes even to how can we be better relatives? You're such a model for me, at least, to be a good relative. So how can we do that even?
I can't even think right now. Let me think about that.
All right, come back when you have your cut in any time, actually. But I do have that same question for you, Tiana. Like, I know you're on the ground, and you've been on the ground, and you've also gone off to college. You're brilliant. Like I said, I knew you when you were in diapers, and I knew you were a genius back then. Actually, like I can remember you being so observant and knew what the world was going on at that time. And so, but what's your vision? What do you hope to see Northern Cheyenne be doing in 20 years? And how can we help out with that? And then the other thing I want to connect back to is, we just saw the elections for our tribe happened. It was a clean sweep of women. First time ever that I know of that happened. And so, what do you see that with? what's that connected to, and what's that energy, and what's going on with that. So give us a little insight to what's going on with Northern Cheyenne politics and the vision of our community. That's okay.
Oh man, not gonna speak on the politics part, but
I'm gonna get you fired. I'm gonna get you
no,
fired.
I don't like politics. But from what I've been working and seeing, 20 years, it's gonna be a tough battle to try to save all of our history, all of our customs, our protocols. Just especially with COVID, we've lost a lot of information. They always say every time an elder dies, a library burns. So we're seeing that, we're feeling that. It's been tough trying to find elders now to help us repatriate things, help us write down history. I remember just when I was a young kid, my grandma was very social. We went to like almost every social event. And I would just see elders everywhere, like all the old ladies with their little skirts and their little scarves. And I realize now just how lucky I was to be a part of that, because now as I'm older, I remember that, and I try to continue that in which way I can. I can't, but I do my best to try to share the history of what they have. And so as all of us young people now, our time is here. I've been telling my friends, my staff, my family, our time is here. We thought we had a little bit more time with our elders, but just because of COVID, and just how many we've lost, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot more work that needs to be done to preserve our history, our language. And that's what I strive to try to do every day in my office. There's only 3 of us in there with a workload of like 10 people to be efficient. And we're not as blessed as the state historic preservation offices who get funding for like up to 20 people. It's just us 3 there, and we're doing our best. And I try to work alongside of a lot of our elders and a lot of our history keepers, a lot of our people who are doing the grassroots movement, who are on the ground. I do my best in my capacity as a tribal government employee and who does the consultations and whatnot with all the federal agencies, along with our tribal government in preserving our language. And all of our historic places are sacred sites. Sand Creek's just one of many that we work on every year. I could probably tell you so many more historic places that we have that have a history that we could make a film about too. There's just enough wealth of knowledge right there with each of those places that we could talk about. And so hopefully in 20 years we have videos and we have more stories written and more stories told. And the young kids, I got nieces and nephews that are continuing to be born. I have a new nephew, he's 2 weeks old. I want him to know those things when he, growing up. I want to be able to tell him, and I want others to be able to tell him. So that's a lot of work. And with all these women coming in now, women, we're the backbone of our nations. We teach these kids to grow. We teach them to eat, to walk, to be their, be who they become. And so being able to tell them those stories and having our young women see all these council women on council now, like in, women leading as president, vice president, and especially like me, I'm inspired just being able to work with them, like just to be right there with them. It's a gift, I would say, gift in itself, a blessing to our nation. So we always talked about it, like one day, what if we have women, what if women are going to lead? When the time comes and we need it, it's going to happen. And look, it happened. So I'm excited for things to come, and I'm excited to work with everybody. The council, they've been great, already. I've had a lot of support, and it's been good.
And so those that don't know that are listening in, hopefully I get this right. It was the president, vice president, and then 3 council seats that all clean sweep for women, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
So now we have 9 out of 12 in our top leadership position. So we have our 10 council members, and then we have our vice and our president. And so now 9 out of those 12 seats are held by women.
Oh, that's awesome. There's a movement happening, and we see it for sure.
Certainly is, yeah.
Thank you, Tiana. I appreciate that. We'll do one more round to make it like fully sacred. 4 rounds of talking circles. So we'll do one more round. And Elleni, I want to hear I know you just got done with this project, but what's in the future? What would you like to see this film being used as? And then, is there any future projects that you're working on? It sounds like Tiana has a couple of projects for you. And if you want to do if you want to direct the Marvel movie that we're thinking of.
Yeah, I mean, I love that this film is being seen in context, like in this context right now, like listening to you guys talking, and, that's kind of the purpose of it, to put it out there and share it and have like communication around and all these things that kind of can come up. And so that it's really exciting, and it's really nice for me. Very happy to be here. And then, yeah, I mean, like you said, they're building a new monument in downtown Denver. So I'm kind of thinking about that. It seems like that is probably going to be the next step, or where I want to continue going with this work. And this memorial in Denver, that it raises its own questions about what memorialization does and what comes after a memorial. Like, what is the purpose of the memorial? And people will remember things, but then what's next? Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in that and kind of thinking about that right now. So it's, yeah.
Thank you
There's
for sharing
a lot
your art.
going on, Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your art. It's truly amazing. Hopefully we get more screenings, more film festivals out there for you. That'd be awesome to see as well. So keep up the good work. Final word from the people that joined us. Cinnamon, any final words for us? I know you talked a lot about healing and a lot about recognition of trauma. I don't know if you have any words towards that, or if you just have any general words that you want to leave us with, please do.
Sure. Yeah, I think, there's a phrase we say when we do these spiritual healing runs. We say, this isn't just our history. This isn't just Native history. It's American history. And so what I want to name is that there's places and there's the roles for non-Natives to participate in these things. Like when we go on the run, right, Haden, there's this church that feeds us. So we have like a local white community who's there, who knows, like Chivington was a Methodist minister. There's churches, there's organizations and entities that are all still connected to this, the way Cheyennes are today, the way me, Haden, Sheldon, Tiana are connected to it. There's so much connection to this event. It's not just ours. So when I say, this history is not just Cheyenne history, it's American history. Even though it's a hard history that we have to wrestle with, I truly, in all the speaking that I do to educate non-Native audiences, is inviting you to be a part of the healing and finding the space that is your space to participate in, to help this healing manifest on both sides of the historical trauma, on the perpetrator side as well as the survivor side. And so what I would encourage is, I think people, they're scared to touch it or scared to say they descend from it on the perpetrator side, because it's so much easier to just, for you, wipe under the rug, right? Like just brush it under the rug. But, or they're afraid to own it in fear of inciting more rage or trauma in the present day. But I guess my gift that I would offer to those non-Natives who want to participate in the healing is that, in my experience, when we have non-Native people own it, like Silas Soule's family who comes, there's people who come, who participate, who literally show up. That's the hardest thing to do, is be comfortable in your body, to maybe be the minority surrounded by Indian, but to show up, to put yourself in that place to own it. And when you name it, that it has been done, or that your family participated in that, it brings liberation to us, because we know it happened. But it's almost like Indigenous people are in this like abusive relationship with the United States government where we're constantly being gaslighted like that didn't happen, but we know it happened because we still feel the scars and the wounds. So once we get the other side to name it and to meet us halfway, like we're here, right? Like we're here trying to heal, but we say in ceremony, Creator can only meet you halfway. You have to go the other half yourself. And so that's what I think all of us today are doing, is meeting you all halfway. And so therefore I extend an invitation to the other half to also participate in this healing, because we can only heal so much on our own without the entire collective also doing that reckoning. And that's the hard work, is the reckoning. It's going to destroy you. You will break open and cry, but you have to be brave enough to endure that experience in your body so that we can get towards reconciliation. People say truth and reconciliation. There's reckoning in between. You can hold the truth and not reconcile, because first you have to reckon, process that out, so then we can reconcile. That's my parting words on healing and moving forward.
Wow, dropping it down. Thank you so much, my friend. Wow, so powerful. I like that idea that reckoning is in there, and we still have a lot of truth telling that needs to happen as well. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing with the truth telling. Haden, any final thoughts? Any shout outs you want to give, or anything you want to leave us with about healing, about some of your journey?
Kind of glad we got to get this together, and feel better that we got to talk about Sand Creek and kind of got it out there, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, Pivot. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate your work. Keep it up. Tiana, any final words or parting shots?
I just want to thank Elleni again for doing this film and being so interested in it. And, you know, she literally probably had blood, sweat, and tears making this too. And, you know, like Cinnamon said, acknowledging other people, non-natives, who, you know, also feel a sense of pain too, that this happened to the first people of this nation. You know, they're seeing it still as it is today. We're still recognizing it. Our people never forgot it. Our people are still strong in unity when this run happens. Every time we commemorate an event, our people come together in ways that they usually don't throughout the year, just because, you know, we all have our lives. But when we recognize our ancestors, we have these events and we acknowledge them, acknowledge their sacrifice, literally like Sand Creek too. We acknowledge that sacrifice that they did to allow us to live and to allow us to continue to share our knowledge and learn it. And so I know there's probably young people watching this who are saying, well, I want to learn more about it. I want to be a part of this. And I just want to encourage them to continue to stay dedicated to it. Just continue, because just like you, I'm a young person too. I have those days where I just don't feel like, oh man, I'm not worthy enough for this, or I don't feel like this is my place. But these events that happen, we're all survivors of those ancestors who were there, and we all have a say in it. We all can participate in it. And I just really encourage that, and to just never forget our history, learn it. I'm doing the best I can on this part to share all of these events that happened and preserve them. And it's going to take years. It's going to take a lot of learning, especially since the Cheyenne people were so secretive. We don't share much. And just being able to see a video like this, it took a lot of bravery, especially for my elders, to be brave, to be able to finally talk about it and to not break down, getting into that conversation, a couple sentences. That's how our elders, that's how much it hurt them. And for us younger people, we're the products of those elders wanting to say so much about it, but being scared or still being hurt or still, just trying to heal from that. And so now we're here today. It's the 2020, 2021. Hopefully we can have the run again. hopefully we'll all be able to be there when the monument is dedicated. Sand Creek's dedicated at the Capitol ground. I mean, that's going to be a huge victory for all of the people who have been working on this, especially the ones that have passed on. They've been fighting for this, and I'm glad that, we're here. And various game players are part of this to make sure it happens. And so I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to a piece of Cheyenne history today.
Thank you so much, Tiana. And I'll say this about Haden really quick, coming back to him. Like, I've learned so much from him, and it just reminds me about like some of those society men, my dad included. I remember my dad, I was reflecting on that this morning. Like, he's painted me before. And as he's painting me, he's whispering to me that you come from beautiful people, you come from strong people. He's telling me that, reminding me of that. And I think it comes to that idea of our liberation is actually connected and it's centered on love. And I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. I have so much love for you guys. We're all relatives, so when you guys shine, I shine. I feel so proud and happy with the work that you guys are doing on the ground. And so thank you for taking time on this day. It's a hard day for all of us. Appreciate you guys taking the time and sharing your perspectives and insights. So much love to you and your family. Thank you for being here. Pivot.
Yeah, Ish. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.